Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Malta to DSA 2018,
Woo!
the conference. Yeah. So glad to have you all here. I'm going to be, I'm Brandon Shaw. You've received too many emails from me, but I have a face as well. And very happy to have you here. I wanted to be the first to welcome you. I'll be Master of Ceremonies this evening. We're going to hear from Anne Flynn, our fearless president, and then Vicky Ann Cremona, who is the chair of the School of Performing Arts and also the head of the Department of Dance Studies here at the University of Malta. Then I'll come back up and give you some important information and some not important information, and a little bit of information about the conference and also the theme, how this happened. And then something else will happen. We'll see. Okay, Anne Flynn.
Welcome, everyone. Just a brief written thing so I can keep my thoughts organized. Many of us who work as dance scholars and practitioners are often part of a very small cohort and rarely get to experience what it's like to be part of a big pack. The annual conference of the Dance Studies Association is that one time in the year when we get to experience what it feels like to look to the right, look to the right, look to the left, look front, look behind, and see people who all know and understand what it is we do for a living. No explanations needed. In my former dance department at the University of Calgary, the department administrator, Esther, put a sign on the office door that said, "We speak dance." And it always made me smile. It set a tone for walking through the door that said, dancers are welcome here, no translation needed, and that also claimed status for dance as a language. I hope that in the next 3 days, you savor the company of your colleagues and the shorthand communication of fluent speakers. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Dance Studies Association, I would like to thank our host at the University of Malta, especially those in dance and the performing arts, especially Brandon Shaw, Malaika Sarko-Thomas, and Patsy Ketkuti. The program committee, local host committee, DSA's management company, AEG, namely Janet Wilhelms, for everything you have done to facilitate this gathering. Hosting is such a generous and gracious gesture, and the organization extends its sincere thanks for all your efforts. We promise to be good guests and not to cause any trouble.
I guess it's up to us then.
I too will read to remain focused. Dear delegates, dear Brandon, our little Maltese archipelago has never before welcomed so many dance practitioners and dance scholars. In short, dance lovers from all over the world. So by your very presence, you are making dance history in Malta. The Dance Studies Department of the University of Malta School of Performing Arts proudly welcomes you all. We are very excited to have you here and thank each and every one of you for being among us today. Your presence is a wonderful validation of the investment started by our university in 2012 to open a dance department that can offer courses to persons passionate about dance and dance scholarship. The initial program for the Dance Studies Department was planned and written up by Joe Butterworth, this year's recipient of the Distinction in Dance Award that is bestowed by the Dance Studies Association. I would like to warmly congratulate her on behalf of the School of Performing Arts. Congratulations, Joe, for a very well-deserved recognition. As some of you may know, the dance department is the sort of baby brother or sister of two other departments, Theatre Studies and Music Studies, which next academic year, 2018-2019, will be celebrating the 30th year of their founding. Together, the three departments form the School of Performing Arts within the University of Malta. However, the university itself was founded in 1592, and it was founded in the very building where your sessions will be housed tomorrow. It was called the Collegium Melitense. Initially, the feet treading the school's flagstones were those of students in philosophy, theology, grammar, and the humanities. A group of young knights threw the Jesuits out of the island in 1639 for daring to persuade the then Grand Master of the Order of St. John, now known as the Order of Malta, to prohibit the knights from masking or inviting women to their auberges during Carnival. The story certainly seems to have some connections with one aspect of the theme of this conference, conflict. The Jesuits returned a few months later and were again expelled from Malta and the kingdoms of Sicily and Naples over a century later, in 1768. The following year, in November 1769, the Portuguese Grand Master Manuel Pinto da Fonseca opened a public university for general studies that soon included medicine, which the knights had been practicing on the island since their arrival in 1530. Dance in Malta is initially recorded as entertainment given in the auberges, especially during the Carnival period. However, the first discovered trace of performers, dating back from 1605, is a notarial contract for a foreign company of performers, probably specialized in commedia dell'arte, a type of theatre which included both dancing and singing. Another contract, dating from 1613, mentions a Vecchio Tolomeo, who has come over from Naples to dance and sing. The presence of dancing masters, or maestri da ballo, was part of the cultural environment in Malta, as can be attested from another contract in 1742. However, there were also folk dances, as can be attested by 18th century paintings depicting folk dancing and merriment. One historic dance that has come to us from the time of the knights, but probably existed even before, is a Moresque dance, which is danced to mark the opening of carnival celebrations in Malta. It is called the Pirata, and it features a stylized fight between the knights and the Ottomans. It became linked to a very important historical event, the Great Siege of Malta in 1565, when knights and Maltese fought and won a 3-month siege against Suleiman the Magnificent's impressive army. Another typical carnival dance, which is danced on the island of Gozo, is the comitiva, which traditionally used to be danced by men, half dressed as men and half as women. The steps that are performed are reminiscent of certain Spanish court dances. Malta, after all, was under Spanish rule from the 13th century. There is no existent original music for these pieces, but a short anthology was published by Edward Jones in 1807, entitled Maltese Melodies, or National Airs and Dances, usually performed by the Maltese musicians at their carnival and other festivals. Among the terrible conflicts that characterized the beginning of the 20th century was the Russian Revolution, which indirectly brought the introduction of classical ballet to Malta through a Russian princess, Princess Natalie Putsiatin, who today would have been labeled as having been granted refugee status in the Maltese Islands, and who started the first ballet school. One of the members of the local committee of this conference, Catherine Farrugia Creel, is currently writing a book about this important aspect of dance history in Malta. Refugee status, however, does not always bring to mind the happy ending it meant for Princess Putsiatin. In present times in Malta, it is far too often linked with one of the immediate results of conflict: flight. Escape means bodies struggling for survival, battling with sand and waves to cross the Mediterranean, which all too often proves to be their grave. Tiny Malta is located at the epicenter of this type of conflict. Our patrol boats participate daily in picking up live or dead bodies from the sea, while political conflict continues in the bigger continent as to accept or reject these bodies that move across the water in search of a life with dignity and without conflict. In fact, a vigil is actually being held today to honor the victims of this type of tragedy, really, of fight for life, which too often ends in death. I am certain that your conference will also be touching upon these themes, and I augur that your discussions will be lively, healthy, and that new revolutionary ideas will come to the fore. I would like to end my speech by thanking President Anne Flynn and the Board of Directors for having accepted to come to Malta. I would like to sincerely thank Brandon Shaw, the chair of this conference, for having undertaken this formidable venture and for his hard work at organizing this conference, and all the Malta team for their indefatigable work to make this conference a success. Malaika Sarko-Thomas, our Francesca Bellatranta, Lucia Piquero, Sara Cettura, Patsy Ketkuti, and of course, Katrina Farrugia Creel and Joe Butterworth. I would also like to thank the students who have volunteered to help make your stay and conference a pleasant one. I wish you all a great conference, and I hope you will take away many happy and beautiful memories of what for us will remain a memorable event on this island. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky Ann, and thank you, Anne. Most of you who don't know me would be surprised to know that I used to be a church-going man. Yeah. And I don't remember much from church, but I remember my pastor's advice about public speaking. He said there are 5 B's to speaking. Be brief, brother, be brief. So I'll do my best. But I did want to start off with a very hearty word of thank you to everyone who's been involved. I stand up here as chair, but I think it's because I sit here while other people work. And I've really been very, very grateful beyond words for your work. So I just wanted to acknowledge our program committee. Those of you who are here, if you could stand when I call your name, I'll read it from here. That'll be easier. Malaika Sarko-Thomas, who's been right hand the whole time. So thank you, Malaika. And many were not able to make the trip over. Takia Nur Amin, Karima Borny, will you stand? Are you here? There you are. Great. Ramsey Burt, Joe Butterworth. Yaping Ching, sorry, Yaping Chen, sorry. Yaping Chen, apologize. Thank you. Maver de la Cruz. Thank you. Thomas F. de France, he's not here yet, but will be. We'll give him from the far. Great. Jens Richard Giersdorf. Jens. Nicola Heitzinger. I've not met you before. Hi. Jasmine Johnson. Wherever she is. Janet O'Shea. Stacy Prickett. Danielle Robinson. Kinyan Zeto. And Sarah Watley. Thank you. And I also wanted to ask the local committee if you guys could come on up to be recognized and adulated. Sarah Achatura, Joe Butterworth, Katrina Fruger-Creel is not here with us. Lucia is in the tech. She's at the performances, which I hope you'll go to later. We'll talk about Malika Sarko-Thomas, Francesca Tranter. Come on up. Up. Yes, thank you. I'd like to also ask Patsy Katkuti to come up as well. Where are you, Patsy? She's probably doing something important. There she is. Great. And then our interns as well, Laura Kukanen, Ariadne Miku, Gloria Borges-Lassart. Moritz, you have to stay where you are, but thank you. And Cassandra Straub is also, I believe, at VCT. And then if we could have all the volunteers who are here as well, if you could come on up. And there's more who are not here right now, but I wanted to have you up here if we could, so we can give you some applause. So come on up.
All right.
Also wanted to give a word of acknowledgement to, so these are our volunteers. You'll be seeing them around. They have the blue-green shirts on, so you'll recognize them, and they're there to help you and to be your friend. Okay. I also would like to thank our sponsors. We've had very, very generous sponsorship, which helps us stay within budget and give you stuff, nice treats and stuff to eat and drink. So I'd like to acknowledge both the School of Performing Arts and the University of Malta. The Kingdom of the Netherlands, the ambassador there was helpful for us as well. The Grand Excelsior Hotel has been very generous, and we're very grateful for their support. Sveen Dance Ensemble will be giving us dancers, so you can go watch this evening, who are performing gratis, which is a wonderful treat for us, as well as the U.S. Embassy of Valletta. So I just wanted to acknowledge their gifts as well. Okay. So speaking of performances, this evening and throughout the week, you can be able to see what dance is like in Malta. This is in your program book as well, but I just wanted to call your attention to that. You can buy tickets outside or at the door at the Valletta campus. There are maps on how to get there. There are volunteers who will be leaving to take you there at around 9:50. 8 o'clock if you'll actually walk and follow them and move up the hill, but 9:50 if you're going to sort of, look at the scenery, which I don't blame you. So we'll be prompting you along. By which I mean 7:50, which is 1950 in my head, which misses a 1. 7:50, yes, thank you. A couple of hours. And after our opening today, we're all going to go out to the terrace, and there will be a cold drink waiting for you. I would like to give priority to people who are going to the performances afterwards. So if you are not going to the performance afterwards, just stick your hands in your pocket and look out at the sea for a second. Let those who are going up the hill enjoy their food and drink, and then you can scarf. We'll be going till 11 o'clock tonight, at least. So after the performances, which will last about an hour, please come back and join us and have some more food and drink and enjoy the skyline and the sea. Hope you'll be with us. So as far as how to get up the hill, there's a map in your book. It's boring and not very interactive. Like many of you, I've read Susan Foster's work on kinesthetic empathy and sort of the role of the map, so I kind of wanted to get involved a little bit more. So as you exit this building, you go up the hill. That's a person sweating, not with a holy aura, because it's a hill, okay? And there is a crossing of the street that I want to call your attention to with the words danger. So as you're exiting the Excelsior, you have to cross the street, and there's a hill going down, and Maltese drivers, bless their hearts, don't always look for pedestrians, so please look for them. You'll go up to, you'll see the fountain, and then it's a straight shot down Republic Street. There's pretty stuff along the way. You don't have to look at it. I already told you where it is. It's fine. You'll take a right onto Archbishop Street, a left, and then you're golden. But also you can follow our volunteers. They will help you out. There's maps galore. I can't do much else for you. So, okay. Other ground rules. You might have noticed I'm not wearing my stiletto heels today, and I would recommend you not doing the same in Valletta. The stairs are a bit slippery, particularly when we get on campus, so please watch your steps if you're in heels or leather-soled shoes. Shedge is your friend, so we've worked so hard on this program book, and there have been a lot of changes since we published it, so I would encourage you to use Shedge. We'll also make an announcement about further changes today, but we're still having people drop and stuff like that, so I'd rather make that announcement tomorrow than tonight. Tutu, Cat. Yes. If there is any sort of double booking, which I hope to God there's not, room 2 on level 2, 2, thank you, yeah, is available for any kind of mess up.
Whoopsie.
The whoopsie room. That's what we're calling it, in fact. How do you know that? Oh, yeah. And then, Prince.
Cat.
Stank eye. That's the point of this one. There is so much going on during this conference, and there's more than you can possibly go see, and I'm going to speak on behalf of everybody. They don't mind if you get up after their presentation, or if you come in late during presentations. Please be greedy about your knowledge and about your time here, and don't feel bad about sort of leaving and so forth. And don't give people stank eye if they get up, right? It's okay. So be cool about it. We're all here to learn, but I would also put a word in for our proceedings as well. There's information about the proceedings from your papers, and it's a great opportunity to put it in a written form so that if you couldn't see somebody's speech, that you'll be able to read it and so forth and experience it that way. Okay. Good. Oh yeah, the speech part. Okay. So, born out of a desire to investigate to what extent dance studies and dance practice are themselves means of interrogation, resistance, and rebellion, and ways in which they are complacent, and compliant with hegemonic power networks, Contra Dance and Conflict descends upon and rises from the limestone of Malta. You are some 320, I haven't got the last count, scholars from all around the world, and convening in Valletta is a fitting location for this conference for a number of reasons. You're sitting on the grounds right now that were originally built by the Knights of St. John, as Vickienne had said, to defend Malta against invaders. Repeatedly battled over as a strategic position between Africa and Europe, Malta's history is one of conquering and defending, pillaging and rebuilding, defiance and resilience. This history is palpable among the aestheticized ruins. After entering Valletta through the main gates, on your right you'll see the Teatro Real, a former opera house reduced to rubble by bombing in World War II. Rather than rebuilding the opera house, the decision was made to leave this an open-air concert house. Controversial decision at that. Malta is an especially fitting place for a DSA conference, as it is historically at the center of conflict between Muslims and Christians, West and the Near East, and the global South and North. It is due to being occupied by so many different nations that the Maltese language reflects a rare combination of pre-classical Arabic, Old Sicilian, English, French, and smatterings of other languages as well. But what's more, ballet as we know it began in Malta.
Ballet. Yeah, right.
Yeah. French dancing master Toine Orbeau tells us that the Knights of Malta devised the Maltese branle some 40 years before this dance migrated north to France, the canonical birthplace of ballet. The French knights / choreographers of Malta created a branle that was ahead of its time, far before Nervaire's injunction to cast away the mask of ballet and to let the balletic technique seep its way up into the face. The Maltese branle included grotesque facial distortions and, interestingly, the presence of Turks.
What?
Possibly related to Moorish dances depicting battles between Europeans and vilified representations of the Moors. And related sword dances, these early Renaissance dances exemplify a choreographic embrace of conflict. So deep within ballet's core is this wedding with the martial. Early ballet decor were thinly veiled allegories of vanquishing one's enemies. I'm gonna slide ahead here. There we go. Sorry. And the well-funded lavishness served as a warning to potential enemies. Rather than being regarded as a ballet domain, we might question whether Louis XIV founded the Académie Royale de la Danse purely out of his love of dance, or whether he saw within these lavish dance productions a means of intimidating his enemies through displaying highly disciplined bodies and uses of gunpowder that could easily be weaponized. the Sun King's theatrical sensibilities seem to seep out onto the battlefield, where we encounter military uniforms, systematic drills for loading guns, and tightly disciplined and choreographed maneuvering. The Baroque dance's liturgy to the straight spine, immobile hips, and slightly curved arms fashioned a body that stood in contradistinction to the ignoble country dances, to be sure, but also to African dance forms that were being encountered through the burgeoning slave trade. In a remarkably consistent dialogue across centuries, ignorant whites dismissed African dances as uncontrolled, spasmodic, savage, you know the drill, while all the while forcing slaves to perform native dances to preserve their health during the Middle Passage.
Oh, yeah. Whoopsie. Oops.
Of course, white adulation, emulation, appropriation of dances of people of color is a thriving practice today. Efforts to desexualize while erecting, stiffening, and other forms of whitewashing has been a move of choice by white hegemonic appropriations of African and Latino dances, including the Lindy Hop and salsa.
Azúcar.
Desires for appropriation in the name of nationalism can also be found in Indian classical dance as well as dabka.
Mm-hmm.
An eye for dance deepens the critical analysis of micro choreographies of dominance. In his investigation into whiteness, George Yancey conducts movement analysis on this choreography of microaggressions. From his treatments of white male academic swagger, the epaulement of switching the shoulder of a purse, or shrugging shoulders in a feeling of feigned impotence, the consideration of racist spectatorship and the sematics of racism is at the heart of his research. The suggestion, then, is that engaging with racism, the same kind that can be said to be at the basis of other forms of bigotry, is a technique, not essentially cognitive, but muscular or organic, involving not reprogramming so much as repatterning neuromuscular movement and preconscious desires. So this contra nature of dance making is familiar to anyone who's devised work with other dancers. Whoever invented this metaphor of dance being some reflection of
We'd
the divine
like to interrupt.
harmonies,
We're gonna interrupt.
obviously
This
never even
previous-
tried to be in a dance
Interrupt.
Scheduled
at all.
Interrupt.
presentation.
Interrupt.
Resist. Persist.
Furthermore, I'd probably have to add that
Resist. We would like to interrupt this previous scheduled presentation to bring you Working It Out
Working it out
with
the Flaming
Bitches. Now, those of you who've had any experience in dance realize one thing. Dance has an intense socialization. I mean, it's in the skin, it's in the fascia, it's in the muscles, it's in the bones. It's about placement. What's the right placement? Who's the right body? What's it gonna look like? And it's in the skin, the fascia, the muscles, the bones. It's a politics of the body. And then for any of you who've ever been in academia, you know there's a fucking intense socialization there, right? I mean, it's in the skin, the fascia, the muscles, the bones. Who gets to speak? Which bodies are intelligent? Which bodies are intelligible? Which people get to claim the role in the skin, in the fascia, in the muscles, in the bones? It's a politics of language and a politics of knowledge. Resist. Persist. Resist. The original story of the Flaming Bitches is a story of a body out of place, a mouth that said the wrong things at the wrong time. It's a story of a way of thinking that was too intense, too much excess for the socialization. They tried, resist. The problem is sometimes that resistance threatens your livelihood. It threatens your career. You feel in the skin, in the fascia, in the muscle, in the bone. You feel it closing in. You try, you keep trying, persist. You keep trying, but.
Look, I'm the one who gave you the job, and I can take it away from you.
Did you know that someone called you a flaming bitch to the dean?
Do you know how hard it is for me to get my hair in a fucking bun?
I wonder if you'll take me seriously. Looking like this. Should I move in dynamic synchrony to the music? Should I move sinuously? Should I make a jagged, sharp movement with my hands or my feet? Maybe I can keep falling on the floor, speeding up. The more times I fall, get up, fall, get up, fall, get up, fall, get up, fall, get up. But I don't like floor work. I hate being on the floor. Or what if I run across in a diagonal, doing repetitive gestures, intricate footwork, and facial expressions? I can spin in place, sway my hips in place, stand quietly, still. Will you take me seriously if I do any of that? Dressed like this? I wonder if you'll take me seriously if I dance or I move. How do you think I should dance or move? Claire Croft, this is for you. Where are you? This is for you, Robin. Raise the volume.
I'm looking at her on a page of the Illustrated London, dated 21st November, 1885. There she is, at number 2, labeled as Notch Dancing. Her right arm holds one edge of her long skirt up so that it fans down to her calves. Her other hand pulls the veil of her dupatta away from her semi-concealed face. She may be about to turn, or she may be doing some elaborate footwork. But wait a minute. The illustration is a lie, a sort of fake news. It is actually difficult to see much of her. She has layers of woolens on. She's in a heavy coat, hat, socks, gloves. She probably finds it difficult to move with the added weight of these garments. Hers is perhaps an awkward, clumsy dance. I want to take you back in time. And I know it's a little bit hard to imagine this, but I want you to imagine that you're in London and it's the winter of 1885. A group of natives have been shipped to London from India by Liberty's, a luxury department store, to be installed as human exhibits in a living Indian village at the Albert Palace in Battersea Park. Day and nighttime temperatures plummeted to a record low. It is the coldest winter in Britain in 30 years. The Indians have been given European winter wear to fight off the cold, much to the disappointment of English spectators who consider them inauthentic. Among the natives are 2 women, a mother and daughter duo, a pair of Notch dancers. They are in a group of 40 Indian men, all installed as live human exhibits. The dancers are described as bewitching objects of sexual curiosity. They're subjected to unsolicited physical touching by visitors to the living display at Battersea Park. The Liberties exhibit was designed to generate publicity for the increase of sales in the Oriental Antiques and Curios department. But as historian Saloni Mathur finds, the exhibition was a disaster, financially, as well as in terms of Indo-Britain race relations. The Indians who were shipped in to become live exhibits were deceived by their recruiting agent, not receiving the food, salary, housing, and clothing specified in their contract. The Indian Mirror newspaper in India reported that many visitors to the exhibit tried to touch the Notch girls, in doubt as to whether they are the real articles. Then the group turned to a certain Nandalal Ghosh, who began legal proceedings on their behalf. Their dispute was widely publicized, and a relief fund was set up in India to help with their return passage. The Times of India newspaper in March 1886 reported that among the 42 Indians, 1 had died, and that the group had been starving for a week. The forgotten 42. Why excavate and reconstruct their stories from the pages of history? What do the forgotten bodies of the Notch dancers tell us about racial conflict in Imperial Britain's past? How do they inform our intensely racialized present? And what futures do they beckon and animate? Why remember the forgotten 42? Isn't it convenient to forget them, just as the practice of a violent British Empire, responsible for the organized loot, plunder, and the death of millions, is conveniently forgotten when this nation's history is taught in the British National School curriculum? Why remember conflict, particularly those in which the nations are complicit, and more importantly for us gathered today, the question should be, why should we forget conflict? Who or what does remembering and forgetting conflict serve?
Contra. Dance and conflict. Conflict. If you break it down, it's with, conflict, strike, force, through, penetrate. But what happens if we start to think about resistance as support? What happens if we start to imagine another way to resist? A way to experience the support of someone's weight, potentially resisting their body, but maybe supporting their lives? What does it mean to think about resistance as a responsiveness rather than a reactivity? How can we believe that it's through the skin, the fascia, the muscle, the bone? How can we resist in a way that's responsive, that's willing to feel the other person, that's willing to support their experience, their weight? I want to imagine a resistance that experiences the connection, the connectiveness with one another. Fierceness without anger. Full-bodied weight without defensiveness, without anxiety. Like, here it is.
I'm a bit tired.
In the skin, in the fascia, in the muscles, in the bone. I know you don't like the floor, so you can stay up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Are we
You're up.
We're up?
Yep,
Okay.
we're up.
So, how hard is it to put your hair in a bun, Anne?
It's terrible.
What do you normally do?
I don't.
What's your technique to put your hair up in a bun?
Well, if I had 8 hands, maybe it'd work.
What do you do, like
Side,
side,
side, side, down, up, side, 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 down, up, side, 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 down, up, side, side,
Should we throw in some hips?
down, up, side, 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 down, up, side, side. Did you have a video?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can probably try a little bit of this to the video and
Okay.
maybe add our own flavor. Shall we?
Yeah,
Okay. Cue video, please.
I know, it's hard with the hair.
Yeah.
Guess which one I'm going to be in the video.
Okay. All right, you want to teach us something?
Sure. So,
All right, you ready?
I think we have to pretend to be fire.
Oh, I can do that. I teach this all the time. Earth, water, air, fire, yeah.
Yeah.
Endocrine system.
And then the hair. Yeah. And then, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2. Yeah.
We didn't really get to practice here, people.
No, I don't
Okay.
think that's the song. But it's a good song.
Okay,
But
okay, you need to be in the center.
I have to be in the center.
We'll do the backup.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So maybe we should rehearse the side, down,
This
up.
is a slow song,
But
girlfriend.
this is the song.
Slow song. Speed it up.
Should we do a just do slow priority? There.
Hey, hey.
Here we go.
Oh, here's the fast part. Oh, wait, we gotta watch This Is Us. I don't look anything like that.
Your hair.
I don't look anything like any of them.
Okay. be a girl? No, I think it's okay.
Okay. Speak with this song. So I think I'm going to overlay this piece of dancing with a song by Tagore that I grew up with, and it scarred my childhood. Agun jalo, agun jalo, ব্যর্থ প্রাণের আবর্জনা পুড়িয়ে ফেলে আগুন জ্বালো, আগুন জ্বালো, ব্যর্থ প্রাণের আবর্জনা পুড়িয়ে ফেলে আগুন জ্বালো, আগুন জ্বালো. I could read something a little bit more serious from Tagore. It was a serious song. The lyric suggests that you should light a fire. I thought it was appropriate. As my days pass in the crowded market of this world and my hands grow full with the daily profits, let me ever feel that I have gained nothing. Let me not forget for a moment. Let me carry the pangs of this sorrow in my dreams and in my wakeful hours. When my rooms have been decked out and the flutes sound and the laughter there is loud, let me ever feel that I have not invited thee to my house. Let me not forget for a moment. Let me carry the pangs of this sorrow in my dreams and in my wakeful hours. The nameless mother and daughter duo, I return to them, the Nautch dancers who were part of the Forgotten 42. They're important to my dance history, to our dance history. We may not know much about how they exactly moved or what their dance repertoire consisted of, but the controversy in which these dancers became embroiled revealed several things. The Orientalist fantasies of British audiences, their desire for authenticity, and their sexual predatory behavior when minority subjects were displayed as animals in a zoo. The discrimination and breach of contract faced by the natives on display, and the very public outcry against this unfair treatment of Indians of, by, an Indian nation in the making against its colonial rulers. In ways similar to Roots and Dennis's appropriation and unfair treatment of South Asian dancers' labor, outlined by Priya Srinivasan in Sweating Saris, the Dancers of Liberty's human exhibit shed light on the very messy conflict between races that existed between Britain and its colonies in the late 19th century. Has much changed? So from the nearly vanished remains of bodies in the colonial archive, full of lies and contradictions, what form could a reimagining of these Nautch dancers take? Their dancing and their histories, how do we picture this jigsaw? Parucha warns that any attempt to authentically reenact their dances risks flattening and fossilizing the Nautch dancers in the pages of history again. To give them a true voice, to speak back to history seems to be a fair way forward, but Spivak whispers that I, the privileged academic, and the native informant would then be ventriloquizing for the subaltern. So today, in the spirit of play and conflict, I want to choreograph with the help of the Flaming Bitches a piece of historical fiction. I want to reimagine what the Nautch dancers muttered under their breath when their buttocks were pinched or their breasts touched. I want to imagine that they swore back at the men who groped them. Maybe something like this. चूतिया अगर एक बार मुझे और हाथ दबाया तो मैं गला घोंट दूंगी साला बेंचोद सुअर का बच्चा साला चूतिया कहेगा चूतिया
Ben chot chot chot.
Mother chod.
bench.
सुअर का बच्चा चूतिया मादर चोद
Mother chod. Chod.
सुअर का बच्चा
Mother
कुत्ता कहीं का
Ma- Chutia.
मादर चोद सुअर का बच्चा
Contra. Latin for against. Contrary.
Contrary.
A proposition.
Conflict.
Dance is not contrary to anything. We can always work through physical discomforts that mirror social discomfort. You have to be uncomfortable to become comfortable. Sometimes different dance forms in one body is possible. Contrarian. We must always find new meanings for things.
Conflict.
Redefinitions. Another proposition. Be dissatisfied.
Resist.
Persist. Be dissatisfied so as to imagine and invent and envision different ways of being, moving, living.
Contrast.
Contrapuntal. Imagine practices as thoughts. Magic as knowledge. Memory as fact. Imagine an act of improvisation that does all of this at the same time, differently. Contra.
Resist.
Conflict.
Persist.
Contraction. Contradict. There is no center, no hubris of the 0 point. Think with your skin, touch with your eyes, see with your ears. What is the sound of reconciliation? Contravene, break, violate.
Conflict.
What must we consistently transgress against to keep on going? How do we contravene expectations? Did this? I wonder if you'll take us seriously. Contra, Latin for against, contradict,
Conflict.
contravene, contra.
Contrast.
So many things to toil against, to fight against, to move against, to move with, to move towards, uncertain future. But we move, we flee, we resist, we support,
Persist.
we start anew, we resist, we fall,
Persist.
we get up, we start anew, again,
And
and
again.
and again,
And again.
and again,
And again.
and
Resist.
again,
Persist.
and again,
Resist.
and
Persist.
again.
So we want to encourage you all to embrace the histories of conflict and feel comfortable with resistance and persistence, but to recognize we can embrace the contra without too much fear or defensiveness. Thank you.
Dance break, dance break.
I got bigger chits than you do.
Don't say it softly.